Hello my fellow friendsets, it's Chris from Shughead Gaming, and I'm bringing you my review for the Quest and Quest 2 version of The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, developed by Skydance Interactive. The Walking Dead Onslaught was currently available on PC VR as well as PSVR, but is now out for both the Quest and Quest 2. Depending on your region, the game retails for an estimated price of $40. Travel through the ruins of walker-infested New Orleans as you fight, sneak, scavenge, and survive each day, unraveling a citywide mystery. Encounter desperate factions and lone survivors who could be your friend or your foe. Whether you help others or take what you want by force, every choice that you make has consequences. On PC and PSVR, this game carries the prestige of not only being the only decent Walking Dead game, but also one of the finest VR games to date. But is the Quest hardware able to handle this port? Stay with me while I tear it down and find out. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. Not only helps out my channel, but VR gaming as a whole. And if you'd like to see more VR content from me, please consider subscribing. In addition, Shughead Gaming is on Discord and well on its way to creating a fun and positive space where VR gamers can come to get VR news, chat, and find others to game with. Alright, well it's that time again, let's talk graphics. I'll be honest, when I saw Saints and Sinners running on PC headsets, I openly stated that PSVR headsets would never see this game. And if we did, it would look like crap. Well damn, Skydance Interactive managed not only to get this port over to the aging PSVR hardware, but now also to the Quest 2 and the OG Quest. And given the ambitious gameplay on display here, probably set a graphical benchmark in the process, delivering a visual feast that honestly needs to be played to fully appreciate. Levels are open and sandbox style, but are generally limited to 2 to 4 blocks in size and connected by skiff rides, with larger spaces present but less active with walkers. In addition, levels are often blanketed with fog or bathed in darkness, helping to hide draw distance issues, while textures throughout are a combination of quality in an attempt to keep things you care about looking decent. The chosen art style Skydance went for with this Real World meets Telltale's The Walking Dead series was also a brilliant choice, allowing for a feel that while maybe not visually in line with The Walking Dead show, still manages to brilliantly deliver the experience of the show. But more on that when we get to gameplay. The result of these and many other smart decisions delivers a game world that is immersive, full, and ambitious, while still managing to stay on the more grounded side of things and not default to the more cartoon approach so many other VR titles deliver. Speaking outside of design choices, Saints and Sinners looks every bit the part of a VR game made by a studio that spent some real money. Weapons look fantastic, and short of some slight shimmering here and there, the surprisingly large and detailed game world is surprisingly void of jagged edges, while actually retaining a pleasant level of detail at a distance. Detail in zombies, while impressive on the heads, do lack the same level of detail on the bodies, but hey, it's all about the heads with zombies anyways. Comparisons between the OG and Quest 2 do see the Quest 2 version getting some visual improvements, but seriously, the port job here done by Skydance is unbelievable, as both versions look remarkably similar to each other and also compare favorably to previous versions running on more powerful hardware. Quest 2 users will be happy they upgraded though, as they will most noticeably see a much sharper image, due in part to the higher resolution display, but also the game itself able to run at a higher resolution and with improved anti-aliasing. Other upgrades are slightly improved world textures as well as more detailed gore effects on the zombies themselves. Zombie numbers seem to be the same across both versions, as is, and this one really surprised me, the concentration of fog in the environment, as well as the game's usage of darkness, as I completely expected to see both versions, but particularly the OG relying on much higher levels of fog and darkness to hide the power limitations. The OG does see a slightly higher use of fog however, but this is used very casually and was rarely intrusive to the overall experience. PSVR users who are looking to upgrade or may have recently upgraded to the Quest 2 will see this version of the game looking most similar to the Pro version, matching that version's in-game sharpness and then boosting that slightly because of the higher resolution display. Texture detail, however, is where both the PS4 and PS4 Pro versions still see better results. Frame rates in Saints and Sinners, regardless of the zombie carnage on screen, remained constant and smooth for the most part, with the OG stumbling only occasionally. So yes, this game looks really good and easily ranks as having some of the best visuals on both the OG and Quest 2. That being said, while feeling very polished in most areas, that only makes its smallest of issues all the more obvious. While Saints and Sinners uses lighting almost expertly in much of the game to create mood and suspense, it does use the darkness very often, and well, it's very dark at times, making the weak light the flashlight puts out simply not enough. Zombie animations come off a bit hit or miss, with the damage and movement impressive above the waist, but a lot less interesting when in the lower regions. Alive human NPCs often look pretty wooden, looking a little early 2000s-ish at times, and at times flickering in and out of view when viewing them at certain distances. And that brings us to the one real issue I had with the game, and that is the at times prevalent texture pop-in of higher resolution textures or complete pieces of geometry, most noticeable when outside or when coming up on a higher detailed section. This was slightly more common on the OG Quest, but regardless of headset, this never ruined the experience, and honestly, I stopped really noticing because I was just having so much fun. But it is prevalent at times and more noticeable simply because it is the ugly kid in the family photo of an attractive family. Sound is up next.
My husband, he's turned. He begged me not to let it happen, but I just couldn't pull the trigger. He was all I had left.
The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners keeps riding the quality train as we get into its sound offering. Music here is tastefully done and almost always first rate. Eerie and atmospheric are the often go-tos, but at times the soundtrack will quietly sprinkle in some Ghostbuster-esque tunage, giving some scenes a different flavor. What I love though is that the music ebbs and flows, coming and going and seeming to follow some of your on-screen badassery. This use of dynamics really served to bump up the whole theatrical quality of the game. However, speaking of dynamics, stay out after the bell rings and shit gets bad fast, and bringing with it loud, you're screwed music. This works in the short term, but if you, like me, refuse to leave your looting ways, it never quits and it gets old really fast, forcing me to actually turn it off at times. Like the music, voice work here is absolutely first rate, with a cast of professional veteran voice actors anchoring the story and missions perfectly, and that is one of my sticking points with many VR titles. Speaking of sticking points, let's talk weapon sounds. They are awesome. Punchy and authentic, Skydance made this gamer cackle with inappropriate glee at the sound and impact of unloading my double-barrel shotgun into a zombie's face. Likewise, the assortment of melee weapons are ridiculously satisfying to use and due largely in part to the excellent effects of gargling zombies' throats, crunching skulls, and the blunt force trauma of using Negan's Lucille. Everything sounds meaty, heavy, and well, wet. Special mention goes to the expert mixing of the zombies' grunts and groans. Obviously, they are a huge part of this experience, and yes, they are first rate. However, it is the way the audio mix seems to mix the zombie sounds, so they are there and effective, but never overbearing. Done poorly, long looting sessions could end up sounding like an orgy gone terribly wrong. Finally, when talking sounds, I want to mention the nice use of spatial audio from the point of view of sounds you yourself make. Honestly, if this aspect hadn't been nailed, much of why this game works so well would be lost. Choose to go loud, get ready to start the parade of death. Choices like running, firing a gun, breaking open windows are all things you are going to think very carefully about with every move. In addition, go into the settings and you can enable the ability to turn on your microphone. By doing this, you can use your own voice to, well, call the zombies over to you. All in all, a very first-rate sound mix, expertly recorded, tastefully implemented, and presented in a very competent 3D audio package. And that brings us to gameplay. Yes, there is somewhat of a story. No, you likely won't care about it or any of the people you come across. This may be a hit against the game for some, but for me, I came for the carnage and I stayed for the surprisingly deep upgrade system. If I had to describe The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners to someone in an elevator pitch, I would tell them that this is a methodical action game with elements of inventory management, light puzzle solving, and stealth, all wrapped up with a light RPG bow. One of the reasons this game works so well is that it never goes too heavy into any one of these areas, letting the situations and player style dictate much of the gameplay, but smartly always making sure zombie killing is the main course. And yeah, zombie killing in Saints and Sinners is ridiculously fun, and was continually entertaining throughout the almost 18-hour campaign spread across 9 interconnected areas. Those who played Killing Floor Incursion will be very familiar with the way the game handles gear management, albeit much more improved here. With 2 holsters on your sides, 1 on your back for large weapons, and an ammo pouch on your front waist, you are equipped to kill. In addition, you have a rechargeable flashlight that can also be equipped to your chest for hands-free use, a notepad on your chest for map and mission info, and finally a backpack for storage on the run. Additionally, you can also store large weapons on the side of the backpack. Now, yes, this has all been done to one extent or another. However, complex body storage systems, while immersive, have often just been a pain in the ass in VR, due to items being dropped when storing them and always having to look at what you are doing to ensure that you are actually holding said item. Here in Saints and Sinners, Skydance has come up with a simple yet fantastic system mitigating most of these issues. When picking up or putting down an inventory item, a wide ring appears by your hand, letting you know all is good to go to let it go or pick it up. In addition, you are given a light haptic buzz in your controller and a small message indicating that the item is stored. This allows for no-look usage and work extremely well in most cases, allowing me to actually play intuitively as opposed to the clumsy nature of past games that I was always fighting. In addition, I love the way I could cross my hands over my opposite shoulder or hip to grab opposite items, allowing me to use my right hand to grab a left holstered gun or my left arm to grab a bow on my right shoulder, making for an immersive, pain-free, and really fun combat experience. Speaking further to controls and game mechanics, I have noticed that time after time, developers seem to put their head in the sand during development and release games that are missing key features of modern VR gaming, such as smooth turning or, a pause button. Here, it is very obvious that Skydance sat down and talked about what worked in VR and what they needed to improve on or add. Besides inventory management, it's small things like intuitive opening and closing of doors, proper running speed, intuitive climbing controls, and NPC characters that actually react if slap them in the face. Really, it's aspects like this that, when combined with larger gameplay design choices like actual weight physics to melee weapons, proper hit detection with your own limbs in the game world, and of course, combat that feels like it has weight, power, and consequences for overexerting yourself. So yes, let's talk combat. In a word, it's awesome. It's not perfect, but it's the closest we have seen on the Quest by a significant amount. Now, admittedly, it's hard to talk about why I like the combat so much without sounding like a complete homicidal psycho, but oh well. First off, zombies have a thickness to their outer layer that greatly influences melee combat. Penetrating the body, or especially the head, requires force, either in the form of fast movement or large swings, meaning you could stab away and still become lunch if you don't bring your A game. Sharpness of weapons must also be considered for both penetration but also when removing your weapon after the fact. Two-handed weapons are heavier and, while often hit harder, are clumsy and actually require proper physics-based hand placement to get the most out of them. And remember, all this costs you vital stamina, but more on that in a second. Zombies can take and show multiple wounds, heads and arms can be lopped off and played with, and for the most part, it all seems to have the correct ragdoll physics to provide the proper level of immersion. Ranged weapons come in the flavors of the more stealthy bows and of the louder bullet-based weaponry, such as pistols, shotguns, rifles, and automatic assault rifles, many of which are discovered through missions. In addition, you also have an assortment of throwable objects that go boom. The bow is awesome, and while maybe not as polished as the bow mechanics found in Death, it's still solid, giving you a sense of it being a skill you must actually work on if you want to hit a zombie head from further away than, say, a few meters. Guns are a lot of fun to use, allowing for one-handed use at the expense of accuracy, two-handed, and of course, some dual-wield action. And you will have enough ammo to have some real fun as long as you don't mind some zombie company. Special mention goes to the implementation of bows, guns, and especially of the two-handed variety, making the process of manually loading, cocking, and firing feel first-rate, becoming the new VR benchmark for this. Now, admittedly, I am not sensitive to gore and honestly do wish zombies had even more of a playground feel, allowing for even more creative mutilation. But what's here is still a blast and great fun to play around with. Outside of combat, you'll be doing a combination of multi-act missions, along with some time-sensitive side missions. Most of these are in the form of fetch missions, but there is also an element of exploration and light puzzle solving as you use photos and clues in an almost treasure hunt fashion. Combat here can be quick and deadly, but keep your expectations low on enemy AI, as they often feel like smart zombies that learn to talk and shoot guns. Finally, I want to talk about the more RPG side of things, and honestly, this is the aspect that I think elevates this whole game from being more than just an arcade playground of guts. At your home base, you have a large storage box, a weapon rack, info wall, and a recycle bin to break down all your acquired loot from your excursions. When out and about, you will be constantly looking for and collecting ammo, pieces of useful junk, and consumables to replenish your health and stamina. And yeah, stamina. Skydance has brilliantly used stamina to attempt to recreate the fear and risk of what it is like for characters of the show. Stamina is your most valuable asset, and actually much more valuable than health. By making climbing, running, and fighting all take a hard toll on your stamina, it forces the player to really think about walking slow, being quiet, and not picking every fight. Add in weapons that wear out fast, maybe a little too fast, and what Skydance has pulled off is gameplay that not only makes just a few zombies actually deadly if you're not paying attention, but also makes for an addicting and surprisingly deep gameplay loop. Which brings me back to home base and the crafting mechanic, in which is spread across 3 upgradable benches, broken into survival items, weapons, and a third bench that is a kind of character buff gear combo bench, all of which are refueled by resources broken down by recycling, well, pretty much everything, making you seriously consider doing straight up resource runs just to not suck so much at zombie survival life. Moving on to the basic control systems, you're going to need 2 touch controllers. Here you will find the usual smooth turning and click turning options, but this is a full locomotion title, so for gamers with weak VR legs, just know there's no teleportation. That being said, there is a full suite of comfort options to help mitigate these issues without compromising gameplay. Note, Saints and Sinners can be played easily seated or standing, but make sure you have a moderate amount of room for some frantic swinging of arms. And finally, that brings us to fun factor and my final review. Straight up, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is one of my favorite VR games on any VR platform and is fantastic regardless of whether you're playing on the OG or Quest 2. This is not an easy game. In fact, I restarted it 3 times until I accepted the fact that, like a Souls game, I had to learn to play it on the game's terms. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hate review scores and instead review games on a basis of buy it, burn it, or wait on it. Well, this game grabbed the #1 spot in my top 20 Quest and Quest 2 games list, so of course you know where I'm at with this game. If you love these types of games or shooters in general, this is a must own. This is a solid 18-hour game with an 18 and up rating to go with it. And honestly, I can't think of a better way to spend this pandemic, living inside a worse one. Yeah, that's messed up, but screw it, let's go play in the guts. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Thanks for stopping by. If you like this video, please hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you'd like to see more VR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, make sure you hit that bell icon. As always, I'll catch you on my next video.